Milwaukee Bucks are starting to crack the code. They're coming off a 113-97 win over the Bulls on Friday night, as Giannis Antetokounmpo put up 46 points on 16 of 22 shooting. He had 16 rebounds and 6 assists. Only Will Chamberlain 3 times and Bob McAdoo, along with Joel Embiid, had ever put together a game in which they scored at least 45 points with a shooting percentage better than 70%. It was the 7th time this season that Giannis scored 40 or more in a game. Milwaukee led from start to finish, and they build their lead up to as many as 25 points. Chicago never led, and they never stood a chance. The Bucks now are perfect out of the All-Star break at 5-0. This was the Bucks' 4th straight game holding their opponents under 100 points, as their defense is really starting to come around. Milwaukee has won their last 4 games by an average of 22, and you take a look at this graphic right here, it just speaks to how great this Bucks defense has been post All-Star break. They are first in defensive rating, first in opponents' points per game, first in opponents' field goal percentage, and first in opponents' paint points per game. This team is starting to turn the corner, and the Bucks have the 2nd best defensive rating in the NBA since Adrian Griffin was fired. Before we continue, guys, real quick, please do me a solid, hit that like button and smash that subscribe button down below for more Bucks content just like this. So the Milwaukee Bucks improved to 40-21 in the season following their latest win, and they are 8-7 under Doc Rivers in what has been a major turnaround since they started 3-7 with Rivers at the helm. The Bucks are starting to have an identity with Rivers, and they look like a team that is executing their plan with the different schemes they are rolling out on a nightly basis. Earlier this month, in a win against the Mavericks, the Bucks did a great job on Luka Doncic, throwing traps in the second half against Luka. And then 1 week later, in a very impressive win over the reigning champions Denver Nuggets, they played drop coverage all game against pick and rolls involving Jokic. And then in their first game out of the All-Star break, you look at this Bucks team, they were able to have another solid defensive performance against the best team in the West in the Minnesota Timberwolves. And you look at that game following their win over the Timberwolves, the Bucks have held the Sixers to 98 points, the Hornets to 85 points, the Hornets again to 99 points, and then the Bulls to 97 points. They also got Jay Crowder back, and they acquired Pat Beverly at the deadline. And those guys have been great tone setters for Milwaukee. And you look at the Bucks, they're not at full strength yet because Chris Middleton is still recovering from an ankle injury, and Dame still hasn't really returned to his form offensively. I mean, the Dame that we're used to seeing for all these years, but he's starting to trend up, and this has really allowed Rivers to use the 2-man action between he and Giannis a lot more. And the better this offense gets, the more it's going to help the defense by putting them in half-court situations. The big game for this Bucks team is going to come on March 20th when they take on the Boston Celtics. Of course, that is going to give people a good indication of who very well is the favorite in the East as we approach playoff time. Now, it is interesting to note that Bleacher Report's Chris Haynes reported this week that Doc Rivers actually sat down with every Bucks player to tell them specifically what he does and doesn't want them to do. And that's important because, you know, I feel like before this team definitely lacked an identity. They lacked a hierarchy, and we saw it led to very questionable play at times for the Bucks. But now, you know, they are starting to develop an identity. Guys are starting to buy into their role. The schemes have been solid. The defense has been, you know, getting right. The offense is going to continue to get better, and that's going to lead to the Bucks just continuing to have success here. And we've seen it now in a sample size post All-Star break. Milwaukee is showing you just how good they can be. And all it took was, you know, a handful of practices, the All-Star break for Doc to really sit with things, and he has come out and really now turned things around. And of course, there's big expectations on this Bucks team. Look, they fired a coach in Adrian Griffin that went 30-13 in the first year of his contract. So that was something that was heavily frowned upon, especially after some of the stuff we saw come out, you know, Rivers on podcasts. It's just saying that, you know, he didn't think they should have done it and all this. And people were very, very surprised that the Milwaukee Bucks gave up on Adrian Griffin the way that they did. But you could tell, even though the Bucks were winning games, 30 wins at that point, they were missing something. This team, in the grand scheme of things, did not stack up well when talking about winning the championship. So the Bucks, they rolled the dice. They made a very, very gutsy call. Started off bad, but now we are starting to see it may actually pay off. And that might be a move that saved their season and gives the franchise hope at winning another championship. Because that's what it's all about for this Bucks team. They don't care if they're going to win all these regular season games. They want to go out there and win a chip. And following last season's disappointment, being ousted, upset in the first round of the playoffs, this Bucks team, they want to go to war. They want to go through that playoff gauntlet, want to be the best team, beat Boston, beat whoever is going to be on their path to getting back to the NBA Finals, and they want to get back there, especially after making the trade for Damian Lillard. I mean, it's clear to see this team is absolutely all in. So the Bucks, they have proved in their first 5 games out of the break that, they are starting to build some good habits, and they're starting to turn the ship, but they will be put to the ultimate test because they got a couple days off this weekend, to get rested, get right. And then they're going to have an interesting schedule coming up, which is going to tell us a lot about how this new look Bucks team with their new identity truly stacks up against some of the best teams in the NBA. They got the Clippers in a mega showdown Monday, and then they're going to embark on a 4-game Western Conference road trip where they're going to be taking on the likes of the Warriors, who have been really hot, the Lakers, who are in must-win situations every single game, the Clippers again, gunning for that number 1 seed, and the Sacramento Kings. So the Bucks will be put to the test, and we will see how this team looks. But so far, post-All-Star break, so good. This team, they are playing the type of basketball that we expected them to play. Their defense, that has been truly impressive. And we know in the playoffs, it all comes down to defense, and if this defense gets right, very well that offense is going to start to click, and it's going to be a thing you got to watch out for as well, especially as the playoffs roll around. So, Bucks fans, let me know what your thoughts have been to the recent improvement of this Bucks team. What has stood out to you about what Doc has done differently, especially out of this All-Star break, and where do you think the Bucks rank in the Eastern Conference stacked up against some of the other teams? Let me know your thoughts. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. That is it for me. So Lucas signing off. Thanks so much for watching. I will catch you all again in the next video.